What's one thing about socialism that Americans think they know, but they really don't know?
One of the main misconceptions, people like to say, the socialists want to take your personal property, the socialists want to take your house. Absolutely not. We are fighting for affordable housing. We believe that everyone has a right to their home, and we want to keep people in their houses. Our campaign is calling for an immediate moratorium on foreclosures and evictions. We want to immediately stop the foreclosures and evictions, and we want to seize the banks. It's the banks that are collecting these. It's the banks that levy these outrageous mortgages. It's the banks that torpedoed our economy through the fraudulent housing practices. And it's the banks that are sitting on top of like trillions of dollars of our money. So we want to seize the banks and end those moratoriums and evictions. End the foreclosures and evictions. So in a way, the socialists are fighting for you to keep your house. The banks want to take your house, not us.
Now, what would a Peta Lindsay foreign policy look like?
Well, we want to shut down all U.S. military bases abroad and end the wars of aggression. The war in Afghanistan costs $330 million a day, in addition to being such a bloody, brutal, and heinous war. I just wrote a statement condemning the drone strikes in Pakistan and Yemen. There's absolutely, the United States has absolutely no right to violate the sovereignty of other nations with drones and to murder people around the world with drones. We believe that right now the United States and the United States imperialism is the biggest threat to peace in the world, and we want to, remove that threat to peace by ending all the U.S. wars of aggression and shutting down all the military bases.
What kind of American face can socialism wear? What kind of face will American socialism wear?
I mean, it's interesting because, you never know, but I will say this, like, every country that's that's actually had a successful socialist revolution so far has been a country that suffered from underdevelopment, underdevelopment at the hands of the colonialists like Cuba and China. They have this legacy of underdevelopment, so they've been dealing with problems of scarcity. The United States is the richest country in human history. We are so highly developed. We have so much. We've developed so much. The standard of living under socialism could be very high. Right now we have like the 400 richest individuals each have a net worth of like $4.5 billion, which is an insane amount of money. And were we to free up all of those assets, think of how well off our school systems could be. Think of how well off, our hospital, our healthcare system could be if we were using that money to fund human need instead of to line the pockets of a few individuals.
There are 47% of the people who will vote for the president no matter what. All right, there are 47% who are with him, who are dependent upon government, who believe that they are victims, who believe that government has a responsibility to care for them, who believe that they're entitled to health care, to food, to housing, to you name it. That's an entitlement, and the government should give it to them.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's vaguely racist coded language, and Romney is all about, entitlements and subsidies for big banks and corporations, just not for working people and families, right? Like, Romney's all about government subsidizing for, tax breaks for the rich, those kinds of things, but not for working people and families. The wealth of this country, this is an enormously wealthy country, like I said, it was created by our labor. It is working people who created all of this wealth. We are absolutely entitled to the things that we need to survive. We are entitled to that and more. It's funny that Romney was saying, these people think that he's so disgusted that people think they have the right to eat. And he's talking to people at a $50,000 a plate fundraiser, So these are people who have never had to deal with food scarcity, who don't know what it's like to be hungry. And he knows that that's his base, So basically, Romney, these are the politicians of the 1%. And Romney is talking to, the rich dudes who are the ones who put them in office. He's not talking to the rest of us. So it's not a surprise at all. I don't think to anyone that Romney doesn't care about poor and working people. It's just the important thing in getting people like that out of office, like we say, is organizing. Is making sure that we are a voice that they can't ignore.
But now on the other side, 4 years ago, hope and change.
To put their hands on the arc of history and bend it once more toward the hope of a better day. It's been a long time coming, but tonight, because of what we did on this day, in this election, at this defining moment, change has come to America.
In your mind, where did that hope and change fail?
Well, I mean, you got to understand what went wrong with the Obama administration. You've got to understand the function of elections under capitalism. Imagine if all of the programs that Obama has carried out so far, like if Obama, how Obama deported 1 million undocumented workers, how Obama increased troop levels in Afghanistan, how Obama's overseen this last 4 years in which, state workers and public sector workers have come under attack and unions have come under attack. Imagine if all of those programs have been carried out by McCain, by a white Republican, how would the African American community have responded? How would the labor community have responded? How would the traditional anti-war movement have responded? The immigrants' rights movement, they would have been marching. They would have been fighting. Like, we would have seen a much, much bigger movement. And I think the ruling class knows that. And so that's why, 71% of the campaign contributions from the biggest banks and corporations went to Obama last cycle. I think it was the correct calculation that a Democratic president, a president who's perceived as a representative of the people, or from a party that's perceived as the party of the people, would be more effective in quelling the rebellion of people while they carry out this program of class warfare. So for us, we think that the elections, are the preferred form of class rule for the capitalists because it conceals the nature of that rule. You get the appearance of a change. You get the appearance of a difference between these two candidates, while both candidates carry out the same platform of class warfare. So, Obama was a calculation on the part of the ruling class to, demobilize the sectors of our society that would traditionally be fighting the hardest. And that's, I think, the function that Obama served. But it's true that a lot of people really believed that they were going to get this hope and change from Obama. They were going to get the change in the society they need from Obama. And we think the lesson there is, no matter how good a politician sounds, you can't wait for a politician to save you. You don't get these things unless you organize for them. Every bit of progressive change that we've ever won in this society, labor rights, the 8-hour workday, the weekends, civil rights for African Americans, voting rights for women, these are all things that people organized and fought for, and that's how we won them.
It's quoted in that beautiful song, The Internationale, "No Savior on High delivers." Now, try selling that one to a black church. How do you get black people to look beyond that, to really look at socialism as a viable alternative?
Well, for us, we believe that consciousness changes when people are in motion, and we're not telling people to, forsake their religion. We're telling people to fight back now. You can hold on to whatever beliefs you will, but again, people tend to grow when they're in struggle. Like, for example, in Los Angeles, we became some of the main organizers of the Millions Hoodie March for Justice for Trayvon Martin. And, we actually got a lot of support from the black church. We worked with a lot of people in that, and we're able to reach a whole new groups of people as a result of them coming out to that demonstration, as a result of them being in motion. We were able to reach, many more people with our program. So for us, it's about organizing first and, and challenging people's assumptions once they're in the struggle, getting people to think differently once they're in the struggle. Because I do think that consciousness changes easier when you're in motion.
Articulate, smart, bright, but you're 27.
28.
According to you're 28. Constitutionally, you can't run. Constitutionally, you can't serve.
Right.
So why hit the trail anyway?
Well, the Constitution has been changed. There was a point in time when the Constitution would have barred me from participating because I'm black or because I'm a woman. We've seen the Constitution change. And if you look at the major problems that are facing our society right now, for example, unemployment, youth unemployment is the highest it's been since the government began recording those statistics. It's disproportionately much higher than the unemployment for the rest of the population. Poverty is much higher for young people. If you look at the issue of, the massive student loan debt that our country has accrued, it's $1 trillion in student loan debt. It's the highest for young people right now. The class of 2011 had the highest student loan debt in history. And I come from California, where college tuitions have increased 316% in just 10 years. So this is an issue that is predominantly, that's predominantly felt by young people. And if you look at the war, for example, Congress is supposed to be the one to declare war, never minding how many times that's been circumvented. The average age of a congressman is 60. The average age of a soldier fighting Afghanistan is 19. So the people who call for these wars are more than 3 times as old as the people who have to go and fight them. And they're well protected by that fact. And so what we're saying with this campaign is, why then is it okay to systematically disenfranchise young people in this way? Why are we barred from creating the policies that shape our lives that so directly and disproportionately impact us then? So this campaign is a challenge to that idea that you have to be a certain age, you have to be a certain kind of person to participate in the politics of this country or to make an impact in the policies of this country. And, again, for us, the issue isn't about winning. We have no illusions about the electoral system. I don't have $2 billion. And you can't vote out a social and economic system anyway. It's about raising the platform, getting out there with a platform that speaks to the things that working people need, and letting people know that there is a socialist movement that's fighting for these things. We're fighting for jobs. We're fighting for the cancellation of student loan debt. We're fighting for the things that working people need. We're building a movement and getting people to join that movement. We want your vote. You vote for us if you agree with what I'm saying, if you believe in what we're doing. But more than that, we want organizers. We want to build this movement, and we believe it's the movement that's going to bring about these changes.